Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Burning Hands Fantasy Football. We're doing a mock draft right now, just in preparation for the new draft season. And right now, we're just gonna go ahead and randomize our draft stuff, just so it's completely random and we don't really know what we're going into. All right, 4 and 6, very close to each other. Kind
What
of
do you think of
annoying.
your spot? Do you like it?
6, 7, 8, I kind of don't like, but I guess it's going receiver first, so we'll see how it sort of rolls. But what do you like? Do you like 4? I mean, you got a good running back at the
Yeah, I
beginning.
like four. If I'm in the first four picks, or honestly, the last four picks are kind of where I like to be this year. The middle four, I'm just not a huge fan of.
Yeah, I feel like when it used to be more running backs, it was fine to be up to like 6, and Kuzi's in at 9. Cool.
Huh?
All right.
Cooley's gonna mock with us. All right.
All right. So let's get it going. It's going to be a 90-minute timer, and we can obviously just stop if whatever. And we have a chat, so we'll see if Kuzi ever wants to chat. All right. Starting the draft up.
Yeah, so this one's pretty easy for me. I'm taking Henry here.
Yeah, the last available.
Last available
But
of like that elite four.
yeah, I'm gonna say, hey, Kuzi. All right, so I pretty much have to go receiver here. I guess I could go Cook, but I feel like losing out on Justin Jefferson here is sort of a bad play, so I'm gonna go ahead and pick Jefferson. We'll see how Kuzi goes, because Kuzi has a terrible spot at 9. I don't really like that spot, but we'll see. If you're Kuzi, what are you thinking about?
Probably not Najee. I probably would have gone Nixon there personally, but I think Najee's a
Same
perfectly
idea.
fine pick there. That's just a tough spot. If I was him here, I'm probably going Kamara, but that's me personally. Kamara or Jones would be
Yeah,
my
well, now
top picks.
the news that Kamara is probably not going to get spent until next year sort of changes everything up. So it's
Yeah.
how much you
Yep.
believe. Anyone with Kamara? Wow. Okay. So the question is whether I go double receiver here with CeeDee Lamb, but for me, it's kind of hard not to go with Aaron Jones here. Just getting that running back. He's going to get a lot of receptions.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
probably who I would take in your spot, and it's who I was kind of hoping would fall to me. But
Yeah, it's hard to not. Yeah, then you get in a bad position without a second receiver, or no, double receiver is kind of scary in the third round.
so I found myself, if I'm in these top four picks area, I typically start off going 3 running back. And I like to take a shot on Javonte here, just on the upside of what he could be if he gets the full workload.
That's surprising. It's scary me to not pick Lamb there.
Yeah, I mean, it's just I've found myself, I don't like the running backs in like 4 through 6 all that much. Really 4 through 7. So I try and once James Conner goes off the board here, I'm typically done looking at running backs and I start looking at wide receivers around that area.
Yeah, there is that middle, whether Brees Hall and Travis Etienne, if that's who you believe in at that point, is sort of a difficult one.
And now I don't believe in ETN this year at all.
Yeah. The question is, I don't feel like going for Mahomes or Herbert yet. I feel like that's a 4th or 5th round go. I saw some guy get Pat Mahomes in the 6th round in a fantasy draft earlier. And then whether you go running back here is a little scary. And then I don't like AJ Brown. I'm not really huge on T. Higgins. And now it's whether you go Pittman, DJ Moore, Terry McLaurin. It's sort of a tough spot because I really just don't like AJ Brown this high. So I'm probably actually going to go with Michael Pittman.
Okay, I like that pick. I've found myself taking Pittman in the 3rd around this area if I don't like the running backs or anything, which I'm not a huge fan of. So, and I like that pick I like the pick of T. Higgins there by Kuzi also.
Yeah, I feel like it's a good spot. Late 3rd, early 4th is sort of where I'd like him. I wouldn't want him like where Keenan Allen was or where I was earlier. Just sucks I didn't get Mike Evans there. Mike Evans right before Pittman. It's kind of brutal. No more QBs that are at the top end. I was kind of hoping, but we'll see what happens with the rest of the QBs because I'm still lurking on one. It's crazy to see. Yeah, some guys are really falling. The ADP just changes a lot, and it's kind of
Yeah.
crazy to see some of it.
What do you think Kuzi's thinking here? Think he's looking at another wide receiver, or do you
I
think
feel
he's
like
trying to grab a?
I mean maybe he's thinking maybe tight end, but no, yeah, I was gonna say
Jalen
Waddle or DJ Moore.
Waddle?
I didn't get DJ Moore.
Yeah, DJ Moore probably would have been my pick where Kuzi's at. And definitely where you're at if he was still on the board. But
Yeah,
you
now
still just have one running back. So are you looking at running backs here? Cam
yeah,
Akers,
I'm
Etienne,
down to
Gibson.
Cam Akers, J.K. Dobbins, and ETN, and I don't really want to believe in ETN at this point. Cam Akers just feels like, oh, he's so high on the board, you have to take him, but it's like, who knows what the hell this guy's actually going to be, you know?
Yeah.
So
You
that's
could go
super
3 wide
scary.
receiver here. I mean, he would be in your flex, and I mean, it never hurts to have the depth there.
Yeah, and when it comes back around, I'm not really losing that much. I could still get a guy like Damien Harris, or even I could get J.K. Dobbins. You never know.
Yeah, Dobbins could fall all the way to your next round. So
Yeah, I kind of like the wide receiver choice here, and now I'm down to Williams, Sutton, Judy, and Robinson here. And I feel like, I'm pretty high on Robinson, but fourth round just seems a little high. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take Mike Williams and take that boomer bust guy.
all right. Mike Williams was who I always am hoping for in the fourth to fall to me as like my wide receiver 1, but since he's not there, I'm going to go with another guy that I really like, which is Cortland Sutton. I think that he's going to be phenomenal and end up being the primary target for Russ. Well, I was kind of hoping Allen Robinson would come back to me, but
Yeah,
I
that's kind of
do.
brutal.
He's been rising on my boards. With already having 3 running backs, I'm not really looking at any running backs here. And as I said, I don't really like the 4 through 6 running backs, or really any of the tight ends or QBs here. 5th round has been wide receivers almost every draft, and I'm going to take Marquise Brown, who I know we have differencing of opinions on, but
Yeah,
I think he'll get
you
off to a
like
hot start.
his early season upside. And I'm very happy because I get to take J.K. Dobbins, who I was hoping. I was kind of hoping Lamar would fall to me, but I need a running back anyway, so I'm gonna go ahead and take
Yeah,
J.K. Dobbins. I feel like
that's
that's
pretty
I'm
nice
not.
having him fall to you in the 5th there.
Yeah, I would be more inclined for Gibson, but Gibson, it's just a little scary with what's going on with the new backup running back there, stealing valuable touchdowns, which kind of should be his area for like
He
big.
also had the first touch in the preseason game yesterday while Gibson did kickoffs.
Yeah, I think Gibson fumbled in the first game, and now he's sort of in the doghouse a little bit. I don't really
Yep.
see that. I don't think he'll be a total disaster, Gibson, but it
It's
makes me want
scary.
to put. I was already higher on Dobbins than Gibson, I think, but it's crazy, man. Gibson would have been like end of the third, probably like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and
Yeah.
now he was up with James Conner.
What do you think of Kuzi's last pick of Godwin? You know, I'm not a huge fan of it. I don't think he'll be ready at the beginning of the season. I think he'll get off to a slow start.
It's I like it more than I mean, maybe I'd take Amon-Ra St. Brown above Godwin, but I feel like the Bucks are sort of kind of falling apart here, and having that like safety valve guy, at least when he comes back, will be like a huge push for that team. I like Kuzi's team, man, with Sanders there. Yeah, just a lot of running back, wide receiver, running back, wide receiver.
I think
And then
this is a pretty solid team.
We lose out on the. Oh, that was tough to lose Hurts there.
Yeah,
Um,
I wasn't sure if he was going to make it past you, but he's my 6th round guy that I typically have my eye on. Like if I'm on the board and he's there in the 6th round, I take him.
So now I'm sort of in a tough spot because part of me wants to pick Damien Harris because he's probably the last remaining sort of like solid number 1 guy. I'm also kind of looking at like Cooks too, just because he's safe, and a little bit of Gabe Davis just because he had that touchdown in this first game too. So it looks like he's for real, and I'm a little bit worried about quarterback, but I feel like there's still some guys that I can just wait on. So I have three good receivers. I could just supplant it, but what if Dobbins doesn't really work out? I'm a little bit. This is a tough spot here.
Yeah.
Thomas, Cooks, and Harris. And I think I'm going to go with Harris just because he's solid and I have him.
Yeah,
Might
this
kinda be a
this
waste
issue of
pick, though.
Dobbins and Harris in the 5th and 6th rounds is a part of the reason why in a lot of my drafts, if I do go a wide receiver in the 1st round, that 3rd round, I'm really, really hoping I'm able to get James Conner, Zeke, Fournette, or just someone to fall. And if I was you, I probably would have taken Montgomery there. It's hard to take Brees Hall there, but even Brees Hall, I think, would have been a good pick in that 3rd round. But I mean, I also love Pittman this year, and I don't think you would have gotten him to come back.
Yeah, for a second I was like, what are you talking about? Montgomery wasn't available yet. I was like, oh, okay, you mean back then.
Yeah, back there. Yeah, for me here, it's pretty easy. I'm taking Brandon Cooks. He's just going to be so solid and
You need a
consistent.
solid receiver, yeah.
Well, Russ would have been the quarterback
Yeah.
I was looking at in the 7th round, but with him being taken there, I don't really like I like Dak, but it's to me I'd rather wait for like the later round QB, and with the fact that a lot of the teams on this back half already have their QB, I think everyone except for Kuzi and you. So I'm going to wait there. And I'm going to take.
Does like to double up though.
Yeah, I'm going to take Gabe Davis here. I'm just rising on Gabe Davis this year and love him.
Okay, well, Hawkinson being picked kind of makes my pick pretty easy. I know you're not crazy about him, and we're on the opposite ends with the Marquise Hollywood Brown and the DeAndre Hopkins thing. But I feel like having three good receivers and then having Hopkins later in the year is kind of just a nice little puts you really over the edge. Having Jefferson and Hopkins potentially in the late and into the playoffs.
That is fair. Looking at your wide receivers, I am pretty. You already have like the guys that you're going to be playing the first 6 weeks of the year, and bringing Hopkins in there later is good.
I kind of like the Patterson pick at the 7th round.
I do like the Patterson pick. It's an ugly pick. It's a hard pick to make.
But
it's just
such a boom bust.
He's gonna start off the year fantastic, just like he did last year. Probably not like top 5 running back great, but he's gonna start off pretty solid.
I kind of like the Atlanta Falcons. I like Arthur Smith. I feel like maybe they're going to at least be fun to watch and somewhat produce. I mean, 7 wins last year with that team. I mean, they're going to be worse this year, but I don't really see them being like a 1-2 win complete clunker. Now the question is whether he goes tight end or quarterback.
Brandon Ayuk. Interesting. I mean, I think he is trying to keep a pretty balanced team, so going wide receiver there makes sense. And I've heard a lot of good things about Ayuk from training camp to start this year so far.
So right now I'm kind of tempted to pick a quarterback, but I feel like I'm not really getting any value that I couldn't get in the 9th round. Like I don't think Prescott, Brady, Rodgers, Stafford, and Lance are all going to be gone by the next time I can pick. So I feel like this is the time to either go tight end or go another wide receiver tight end. And I don't really love Goddard. I mean, I don't think he's going to be bad, but I'm not a huge fan of him. So now it's like, do I go with James Cook from Buffalo, or do I go from Dameon Pierce out of Houston? And I feel like going Dameon Pierce out of Houston is probably the best choice because he's going to get a lot of touches. They're going to play the Lovie Smith system of running the ball and defense. So I feel like that's another high upside pick.
Yeah.
Sleeper didn't like it.
QB-wise, I'm in the same boat as you. I know that 2 of the 3 teams that draft between me and the way back already have their QB. I know I want Trey Lance here. I'm grabbing Trey Lance in the 9th as long as he doesn't go off the board. So to me, I'm looking at running back or wide receiver here because even the tight ends, like I don't love Goddard. Knox is like there's a lot of guys who I can get at the end of the draft at that tight end position that have the chance to have that breakout year. So I'm kicking tight end down the road, especially if I don't get a Mark Andrews in the third, or a Kittle in the fourth, or a Dalton Schultz in like the sixth if Hurts is already off the board. So I do love the idea of trying to get like running back wise. I like Melvin Gordon and Stevenson, but I just love Allen Lazard here with all the targets that are going to be available for him. And as I said, I played that perfectly, and I'm taking Trey Lance there in the ninth because that is my quarterback a lot of times.
Yeah.
In these drafts, if I don't grab Hurts or an earlier QB.
See, I made the decision last year to keep kicking quarterback down the road, thinking no one was going to double up on quarterbacks, and then they doubled up on a quarterback, and I was totally screwed. So I'm going to take Matt Stafford, hoping that he'll just be, solid. 9th round, whatever. Not the end of the world. I just don't want to be stuck with nothing. And there goes Kuzi with Rodgers. He's probably pretty happy with that well.
Doing the same thing. Didn't want to kick the QB down the road any further.
Yeah.
I think he probably is. I feel like he's got to be looking at tight ends here. And he goes with
Gesicki. That's annoying. That's sort of what I was looking for.
Off my board from like what I've been hearing. It sounds like he's not going to be a centerpiece of that offense, and especially with Tyreek Hill and Waddle, Edmonds. I feel like Gesicki's. It's hard to get that consistency out of the tight end position with all the other mouths to feed there.
Yeah, well, now I'm sort of thinking around about what I'm going to do at receiver here, because I feel like now is receiver time and I could just maybe pick someone up, but I'm sort of stuck. I don't like MVS, really. I don't really like any of the running backs all that much. I guess you could go Madison or you could go Spiller, but not really crazy about any of those. I think there's the option for Pickens and Boyd, but I'm sort of like looking further down at like a guy like Devontae Parker. But now I'm sort of running out of time here. Part of me wants to go tight end, but I don't want to reach. But at the same time, it's like, who cares if you reach for a certain guy as long as you like him. But I think what I'm probably going to do is whether I go high upside or just safety valve here, because I'm going to need a fourth guy. So I'm going to go with Tyler Boyd, actually, right here. Just if one of the Cincinnati Q receivers goes down, there goes Tyler Boyd as like a potentially pretty safe guy. And I just need a safety player at this point because I have so much up and down.
So I will say that 8th round pick of Allen Lazard, I am regretting a little bit because I wanted a Melvin Gordon or a Ramondre Stevenson type of player. And I thought that, they might just keep falling. They didn't. And now I'm looking at the running back area for like that 4th RB to give me a little bit more depth. And it's
There's
just
one guy.
I don't really like a lot of the guys there. I do love that I have Henry, Javonte Williams, and James Conner early on. But I am going to grab a running back here because tight end is the other spot I'd want. But the other 3 teams already have a tight end on their roster. So I'm going to play that. Hopefully the computer doesn't do anything crazy and double up on tight end. And I'm going to take Darrell Henderson here because I just think that you might see a lot of split work there. Computer did double up on tight end because they thought that Team 2 really needed Mark Andrews and Cole Kmet.
You never know.
Cole Kmet was the tight end that I really, really wanted there. I think he's going to be a 90 target guy this year, which is phenomenal. Looking at this, don't really love any of the running backs or tight ends here. Wide receiver wise, there is a couple guys that I like. And I'm personally going to go. I have 2 guys I really like. I'm going to hope one falls all the way to me. I'm going to take the other one, knowing that I can throw him on the IR to start the year and have an extra roster spot.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna keep waiting on tight end too, hoping that they don't double up. I do kind of like the Gasicki one a little bit more, just the fact that he's on a franchise tag and he's playing for, a big contract, so that sort of puts it up a little bit up for me. And I'm going to take the running back who I felt like I'm surprised you didn't take, which is Naeem Hines. I just kind of like him out of the Colts. A lot of check down passes. I guess he won't be on the field that much with Jonathan Taylor, but at some point I feel like last year that he really didn't get on the field. So I'm going to go with Naeem Hines, and I feel like Tyler Algier also is not a bad pick for upside, but I think I'm pretty much done with running backs here, and I already did my upside rookie pick. So
I do like Naeem Hines this year. It's hard for me to take him in a non PPR type league, just because most of his value is going to come through that. Kuzi going with the Steelers pick of George Pickens.
I kind of like the spot. He's been so high, and now end of the 11th is good.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate it with it being in the 11th. And I definitely think that he has more value than some guys that are going around in this area. Like, it's kind of hard to tell who the third wide receiver is going to be for Tampa Bay this year, if it's going to be Gage or Julio.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, now I'm down to Henry or Irv Smith, and it's I feel like one's a safety and one's a big kind of boomer bust. I'm just gonna go with Irv Smith because it's a mock draft. I might probably have gone with Hunter Henry if it was a normal draft, just because he's a little bit safer. But I needed to go tight end, so.
So the wide receiver I wanted did fall all the way to me, and that's Rondale Moore. And he's a guy that I don't if he breaks out and they give him the touches that he deserves, he's going to be phenomenal, and I'll know whether or not he's going to get the touches week one. So he's a guy I can drop if it doesn't work out. I'm kind of stuck to go tight end here. And I'm getting one of the guys that I really like this year, which is David Njoku. I like him because Brissett targets the tight end a lot. Just like through his career, Brissett, I think, targets tight ends 21% of the time, which is just, if you can get that type of target share out of a tight end, that's phenomenal. They let Cooper go, and honestly, I don't trust Amari Cooper this year, and I don't like the other guys. So
yeah, and right now I'm sort of just like, what should I pick? And nothing really feels that good. So I'm actually going to go kicker. I'm going to go with Justin Tucker.
Yeah.
I just feel like it's going to be a lot of points for Baltimore. Might as well take the top guy while you can, because I feel like if you don't get the top 2 or 3 guys, it's really not worth until you go to the last point. I've sort of changed my stance on going with kickers and defense recently.
I would like to make a suggestion that we get rid of kickers in our league starting right now, because they score the same amount as your back end tight end ones, and they shouldn't be that valuable.
Yeah, well, we'll have to put it up to a vote, I guess. Maybe we can talk about it.
I like do like Kuzi's pick of Brian Robinson there. That's a guy that I've been grabbing late at the end of the draft, just in case he's there.
Yeah, and sort of my idea with drafting kickers and defense sometimes is just if you have a guy that you're pretty sure no one's going to even touch, might as well, because you can just wait until the end to pick that guy.
Yeah.
So, whether I go another tight end, I doubt. I could go another receiver or running back, but there really isn't that much. I think one idea might be going Gus Edwards, just as a little insurance, even though he's not going to be ready for a while. With J.K. Dobbins. But at this point, it's just, random shooting at something. Another one's Donta Foreman, just seeing Christian McCaffrey maybe fall down again. Donta Foreman would be the backup, and I think would actually be okay. But I'm going to go with KJ Hamler.
Wow.
Like that. If I didn't need to get a kicker and a defense in this league, which typically during the year I probably won't. And in fact, actually, I'm going to play with like what I did where I drafted Michael Gallup. I know that I can throw him on IR here. I'm going to actually look at the other positions here, knowing that honestly, actually, I'm going to grab kicker because computer's going to grab a bunch of kickers here.
Yeah.
Kicker doesn't matter though. So I guess I'm just going to go with a good offense. That's the best analysis you can do. I'm going to go with Buffalo's kicker. Again, kickers suck and they need to not be in fantasy football. All right, I'm not going to go with defense here because I can just pick up whoever I want off of waivers later. And I'm going to go just looking at some players. I'm looking for someone that I can see if they're going to break out after week 1, if they're going to be someone I want to keep or if it's someone I want to cut. I don't see any running backs in that category. Wide receiver wise, I do have a couple that I like. And I'm going to go with KJ Osborne here. I do like Jalen Tolbert here also, but since I have Gallup, I'm not going to double up on number 2 wide receivers for Dallas.
Yeah, so I'm going to go with Denver here. They start with Seattle and Houston, so I kind of like that start. I feel like defense is always about matchups, and if I didn't get them, I was going to go with Tennessee just for that Giants week 1 game. But it's always going to be, you'll keep a defense for 2 weeks unless they're like amazing, like Green Bay. Potentially you'd want to like hold around for Chicago, and then they've got back-to-back New York games in 5 and 6. So, but I'm going to go with Denver. And let's see what he does. Pittsburgh. I don't think he really cares at this point, but
no, because you're not going to grab the Steelers and start them week 1 against Cincinnati. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it's not like he's, regardless of who he drafts, he's going to have to drop and pick up a defense anyway, so that pick really does not matter all that much. But do we want to go through each team here?
Yeah, let's look at the different teams here.
Do we want to go with computers or just people?
Let's just do our 3 teams.
Okay, who do you want to start with?
Let's start with Kuzi.
I like his team. Obviously, Godwin's going to be out for a while, so he'll have to flex in Sanders, Patterson, and then who knows. So that's sort of his issue, is his flex spot. What do you see?
Give me 1 second. Computer's not working for me. All right, there we go. I like his running backs of Kamara and Harris. And then after that, I feel like he's got some talent at the wide receiver position, but you're looking at T. Higgins, who's the 1B or like the number 2. Then you have Jalen Waddle, who's also the number 2, and you have Chris Godwin, who is also like the second target for his top 3 receivers.
Yeah.
Bunch of 1Bs. They're all very talented and like they can have those games, but it's just kind of scary. I do like his bench of having Sanders, Patterson, Ayuk, Pickens. I think Gainwell might have a chance, but I don't like having Gainwell and Sanders on the same roster.
It's nice to have insurance, but at the same time, it's like also going to be a headache.
It's one of those things that they're either it's going to be very clear or it's not. You're not going to want to cut either one because it's probably never going to be a clear picture. And then at that point, then you just have a roster clog on your sitting there that you can't get value out of unless one of them gets hurt.
Yeah, I feel like he has got his top 2 running backs I love, and then it's a lot of question marks. If Ayuk does come out of the doghouse that they've been saying, it'll be great, and Lance is good, and Pickens becomes good, and Patterson does sort of what he does last year, and Sanders maybe is a little bit more healthy. This team could be really good, but there's also I was never that high on Higgins or Waddle, so that sort of scares me a little bit. And then the Godwin, who knows when he'll be back? But if he's back early, I mean, this is a really good team.
All right,
And who knows about
let's
Aaron Rodgers?
yeah. Let's go and do
Um,
your team next.
All right,
Um,
what you think about my team?
I think I think Stafford is going to be a decent quarterback, and he's going to be kind of more of a streaming option for a little bit here and there. Like I don't think you're going to be able to start him all year. Um, but I mean, it doesn't matter because when you look at your wide receivers with Jefferson, Pittman, and Mike Williams,
And then
that's a
Hopkins.
lineup of studs right there. And then yeah, like later in the season, whenever it comes back, you're grabbing Hopkins there, who before he went out last year was a top 10 receiver. So yeah, I mean, I really like your receivers. Running back wise, I love Aaron Jones. Dobbins does scare me to start the year. I think he might get off to a slower start coming back from the ACL. But you have other starters on your team with Damian Harris and Damian Pierce that I think will be perfectly fine to start early on in the year.
Yeah, I
So
love my receivers like top to bottom, and the running backs it's a little shaky. I like Jones, but he's not like a high end guy. And then Dobbins, Harris, Pierce could be just sort of a headache all year with like, oh, I start one guy and then it's not his week, sort of, because they're
yeah,
not the strongest number ones. They all sort of have a second back with them. Um, yeah, so now we're going on to your team. And we have no defense for Sky Hinty. Put him down. Put
yeah,
him down. But
because based on the teams that are still available, or on the players that are still available, I think I would like. There's still what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 defenses were taken, maybe 11. Yeah, 11 defenses taken. That means I have the option of like 20 plus defenses.
yeah, I kind of like the way your team worked out with the three running back thing because it's like at first I'm like, oh, your bench, you have no one to help out your running backs, but you have three strong running backs at the start, and then you just went all receiver for depth. So you got Lazard, Davis, Cooks, and then later in the season Gallup, and then I mean Moore and Osborne are just sort of flyers, but
Yeah,
Sutton and Brown are still okay, like starters. They're not like amazing, but like you have so much depth of like a guy that might be able to be like an actual like top 12, top 24, probably more likely. But I mean that sort of
yeah.
supplants your team. And if Lance does become like a solid QB with running, it's just a well-rounded team. My only question is sort of Joku, just because I feel like him and OJ Howard have just been those two psycho tight ends. But streaming a tight
Yeah.
end's never like it happens, you know.
I mean, it's one of those things that basically, if you don't have,
Top
honestly, if
five,
you don't
top
have
six.
Mark Andrews, Pitts, Kelsey,
Schultz.
Schultz, like, you're probably going to have to do a little bit of streaming here and there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really like Hawkinson this year. I think there might be too many mouths to feed there in Detroit for the amount of production I'm expecting. I think he'll still have gains. I just don't think it'll be what he was to start off last year.
Yeah, I think he's just a boomer bust guy a little bit. And that's just sort of tight ends in general. But yeah, I'm surprised by how well the first three running backs sort of worked out. It's a different strategy. I don't love the running backs with Williams and Connor, but it's sort of like, I mean, if you interchange Connor with Zeke, I love it, you know. So it's like a little bit different, just more of a personal
And
preference.
Zeke's been there a lot of times in the third. I mean,
Yeah, I think
you and
we
I
were
have
2
different
picks off.
opinions on Connor. I think Connor's going to be a top 12 back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you got Fournette, Elliott, or Connor, I mean, there's just that group of three right there, just depending on how people think about it. And it's just, you know, same range, same idea. I still hold a grudge over Connor for what he took away from the other guy. I forget his name already. But hopefully he'll have a rebound year.
On Chase Edmonds. What are your
Edmonds.
thoughts on Edmonds this year?
For me, it's just hard to touch any Miami running back.
All right. He went in the 8th round. in this mock. I've been seeing go in the 7th or 8th lot. Um, and I've been picking them up pretty often. Like I'm pretty excited for Edmonds with that offense this year.
I think he fits well, and he's a good receiving back, so that sort of helps him above like the other guys. Because I think it's who is it? It's him, Breida, and then they're gonna cut Gaskin. It sounds like, and there's one other guy,
Yeah, Raheem Mostert.
Mostert. Mostert's the top guy because it's all these. It's a misfit of toys from old teams. It's really kind of interesting what Miami's doing. So it's like feels like the 49ers where it's sort of like, okay, who knows? I guess we'll just pick whoever we maybe think because it feels like Mitchell this year, but you never know with the Niners, and I'm sure he'll get hurt week 2. So that's just sort of how it goes. So anything else you want to point out here? I'm just looking over everything.
No, I mean it's always hard with mocks like this because the computer's gonna double up on tight end and at quarterback. Because I mean, you could have had Brady there in the 9th, which would have been an absolute steal.
Hmm.
But Team 5 decided that they needed Joe Burrow and Tom Brady, and that's probably not going to happen in most leagues.
You never know. I remember Smart picked Stafford in the 10th after already picking someone in like he picked Russell Wilson, I think, and then he went Stafford.
Yeah, that's right. I do
before.
remember that he took
Yeah.
Stafford in the 10th after he had Russ in like the 6th.
And that's why he's the thumbnail for today. But anything else you want to bring up about this?
Nope. I think that's it for this one. There'll be no podcast next week. And then after that, it'll be weekly matchups.
Yeah, it'll be during the week, which we'll see. We'll see how that goes. Always an adjustment, but I think it'll be okay. All right. Well, we'll see you guys, I guess, when the season starts and we see everyone's teams. We can sort of do a preview. All right. I'm going to end that stream. Stop everything. Boom. And then there's Glorious.